Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about soul intelligence. That is a thinker, and luckily I have Kristine here who's going to really help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much, Kristine, for coming onto my show. Let's just dive right in. When you hear those words, soul intelligence, what does that make you think about?
Well, for me, I know what it is. I'm wondering what your listeners think about it. Obviously, soul intelligence is a proprietary method that I came up with that's based in the science of bioenergetics. But simply put, I think everybody can relate to IQ, right? Like having that intuition, that idea, that initial masculine spark in the electromagnetic field. That's the first thing that happens, right? Then the second thing we think about is emotional intelligence, how EQ, right? How things magnify and come into form. Soul intelligence is really tapping into that divine, eternal part of you, that inner knowing. So I developed a method around that helps us get to the root cause of all underlying dis-ease or dysfunction or dissonance in your frequency, which is what causes us to retain energy that's no longer in motion or emotion, all of that stuck trauma, stuck emotions. It's all in our subconscious mind. And so my method actually has a way of getting into that subconscious mind to bring it up to the conscious to release it. So soul
Mm.
intelligence is a lot.
Oh, it is. It's most definitely is a lot. And I loved how you were talking about how bringing in the frequencies and kind of helping people understand when they're retaining energy that no longer serves them.
Hmm.
That right there holds so much value because we don't realize what is no longer serving us anymore for a certain season, for a new season. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get stuck in that energy or in that thought process. So it's like, how exactly do you release that?
Well, so the cool thing is like people don't have to know exactly what's causing the problem. I think when our body finally says something, like it could be something simple as, "Oh, I have a pain in my neck and it's on the right side." So typically it's like right side of the body tends to be male, left side tends to be female. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm being a little inflexible and it's probably my boyfriend." Right? Okay. Like it could be something simple like that. Or it could be something that you've been dealing with for a long time, like IBS, like irritable bowel syndrome, and what's going on, and what are the emotions around that cause that in the first place. Um, so I work with people when they not only when they have a physical illness, but the science of bioenergetics is the correlation between your physical well-being and your mental and emotional well-being, which in common sense terms to me is if physically I'm not feeling great, mentally, emotionally, I'm probably not doing so hot either. Right?
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
most of our how I view our physical body is really a barometer to what's going on in our subconscious mind. And our subconscious is what's really running the show most of the time. Only 5% of the mind is conscious. Okay, so that means all that figuring, strategizing, thinking, calculating happens in 5%. The rest of everything, the trauma, the old repeating patterns, the self-limiting beliefs, the negative energies, emotions, and thoughts, all of that stuff gets stuck in that subconscious mind. And so by the time our body lets us know something's going on, it's been stuck in there quite a while.
Wow, that's truly fascinating because it makes you really think about what is really being held in your subconscious. What I mean, because for me, I think of like filing cabinets. You know what I mean? It's just a vast like filing cabinets in a big old room. You know what I mean? Just
Yep.
tons of them, just holding information that we don't even realize it's there. Like those childhood memories, those that time
Mm.
that somebody picked on you in third grade, or that
Yes.
time that you fell in front of everybody in front of the bus, or you know what I mean, something so simple, but it's like it's there and it's holding us there. But it's like I've learned that sometimes that's our body's natural way to protect ourselves. So for you, what does that make you think about when it comes to your subconscious? Is it there to protect you, or is it there to what exactly?
Well, you know what? I do think it is in some ways, right? I think our subconscious does protect us in some ways, but it kind of gets back to, I want to say third grade science class. Okay, you brought up third grade, but we learned then we were all protons, neutrons, electrons vibrating in this electromagnetic field. So we are energy, and once energy is created, it can't be destroyed. It's got to go somewhere. Emotions are energy. Emotions have frequency, they can be measured. And people are so blown away when I talk about that because I'm like, well, just because we're physical, we're corporal, I think we forget that we're
Yeah.
energetic beings. I mean, we've got
Yeah.
electricity running through us. We're mostly water. We're a conductor of electricity, right? So we attract things and things get stuck and they get stuck at the cellular level. You brought up maybe a trauma where you didn't get picked, for a team or something like that. Well, that can sometimes show up for somebody. I worked with an individual and she was attracting all the wrong clients to her practice and she couldn't figure out why. And I did a session with her and I figured out it goes back to something very similar to what you said. She remembered this traumatic event to where she didn't get picked, so she didn't want anybody to feel left out, and she was doing that in her own program. And so she was inviting people in who weren't in alignment with her message and what she was trying to share. So you never know. I mean, people sometimes also think, okay, I got divorced, I worked through the trauma, I went through counseling, and then I'll do a session and something's going wrong in the physical body and it relates back to that event. So even though we think we've worked through stuff, our subconscious mind may be holding on to it, right?
Yeah.
And we're not even aware because it is the subconscious mind. Now, I love the subconscious mind, right? If we didn't let it run the show most of the time, we wouldn't breathe when we're sleeping, right? Somebody's got to be at work. So
Exactly. So
it's good, but.
exactly. Like somebody has to be working 24/7 up in here because I'm not doing it. So yeah, I love that because people don't realize how much our body, our mind talks to us, protect us, and guide us in such a way that and when it's time to heal, it reveals something towards us. You know what I mean? It reveals, okay, now it's time to heal. Now it's time to let go. And the fact that you were like, oh, our body's majority of is water, and that's why we have to let it out. When we build up energy, it has to go out through us because it doesn't just
Yeah,
disappear. And that's why it's the reason why people say that if you don't deal with your trauma or recognize it, and or you don't deal with the emotions, it will store up in different parts of our bodies, and that's the reason why you end up having a heart attack because of stress. You know what I mean? That's the reason why your certain your liver ends up bloating up. You know what I mean? That's the reason why you
yeah.
have gallbladder issues. You know what I mean? So it's just like it really makes it make sense. So it's just like, how important do you think it is for people to listen to that gut instincts? You know what I mean? That small voice inside of us that's guiding us.
Probably more so than anything else. What's really interesting, you mentioned gallbladder. So the person who has gallbladder issues is someone who feels like kind of invaded by somebody close to them. They go through these fits of anger, but they won't express their feelings, right? So they don't get rid of the bile that's stored there. It can be resentment. A lot of times it's grief about men, or our masculine self, like not asserting ourselves enough, or achievement in the world. We can feel irritated or depressed, kind of maybe even self-sabotaging, thinking like you failed in some way, or holding on to this old trauma. So it's really fascinating when you start diving into what is it and what's being held in the body, right?
Oh, it is because it makes you wonder, like, oh, why am I having this feeling? Like, why? It makes you really take a look in the mirror and really have those deep conversations within yourself. Or just maybe it's not even you have that moment. You just have, like, let's say you develop an anxiety for just a line behind you in the grocery store, just starting to line up, and you're there just waiting. And it's like you start to develop anxious and in this anxiety. But it's like we have to remember it's not the line, it's not the person taking their long time scanning each item. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's something deeper that you just have to just breathe and focus and just get to the moment in what it is and just be mindful. So it's like for you, did you have to learn to practice mindfulness to start getting yourself more together, if that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I wasn't always this spiritual gangster that I only
I
recently.
love that word. Oh wait, I'm gonna write that down. Spiritual gangster. That's my new hashtag now.
You like it? Okay.
I
Well, I
do.
come I come by it honestly. My last name is Genovese. And that was actually my great great uncle Vito was the Vito Genovese in New York City. So I'm bringing light to the world now, right, as the spiritual gangster. But I was a corporate turnaround specialist for most of my career, right? I was figuring out what people or processes or technology needed to shift so the business could achieve their objectives. And so I was really looking for what are those underlying energies? What are those things holding people back? What are some of the themes that need to shift? So I think I started to recognize, I had this ability and really tapped into my intuition, but I didn't form the soul intelligence method until I got plucked out of corporate America. I do believe by divine hands, back in March of 2020. If you guys remember the great timeout we all received with the
Yes.
COVID virus, yeah, that was like right at the beginning of it. And once I got plucked out of corporate America, it was pretty shocking. I was I just we had just made year one of a planned 3-year turnaround. I just gotten a performance bonus. We're starting to make the turn. Things are looking good. And then I got a call from the head of HR letting me know my services were no longer needed. So I was like in the shock of my life. I text my boss and I go, I just got fired for the first time in my entire career. He goes, me too. I'm like, what? So it was a total espionage, right? The CEO took our board deck and basically went in and said we didn't hire enough people when we were begging to hire people, and he went on a hiring spree. It was crazy. Like if he had listened to us, we would have not only met the number in Q1, we would have exceeded it. So in order to save his own job, he had to pin it on us. And now, karma has a way of balancing the scales. He was investigated, removed from office. He put a crony in place, and then those two ran the company into the ground. It no longer exists today. So
Wow.
you talk about karma balancing the scales. So what does Kristine do? Okay, it's the height of COVID. Nobody's hiring. I'm freaking out, right? I'm going through all the feels and all the emotions. And then I had a great friend say to me, why don't you think about what it is you really want to do instead of trying to jump back into something that you've always done? And so I had listened to something Brandon Bouchard said. He talked about you operate in your zone of excellence. And that's what people
Mhm.
see you as, right? Like you're good at it, you make a lot of money at it, you identify with it. But at some point, you got to step into your zone of genius. And so
Mhm.
soul intelligence really came to me in that period. And it was through a lot of prayer and meditation. I just remember this one powerful one I had where I just like started bawling. And I knew I couldn't go back into corporate America.
Yeah.
Um, and that my job was to really help people heal. And so I get to operate in the field of functional medicine now, today, holistic healthcare. And I partner with a lot of functional medicine healthcare professionals. And they work on the physical to help the body heal itself. And I work on the mental and emotional aspects of it. So the charts came to me. I use a book of charts and a pendulum to discern the information. I do most of my work through Zoom. And I know people are like, how does that work? I'm like, well, the only way I'm able to see you right now is an energy transfer, right? We download all kinds of crazy stuff on our phones and our TVs from 5G. Where does it come from? It's an energy transfer, right? It's the same thing as music. It's energy, it's vibration. So I
Yeah.
think when we step back and we go, oh, that makes complete sense. It's not this woo-woo stuff. It's actually quantum physics.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's super, super cool.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I had somebody on my show a couple years ago that he invented this device where it like provided like this electrical sound waves that'll help with vibrations or what it is. And he had trials with certain people, and he helped people reduce their depression, reduce suicidal ideation, and reduce even certain like diabetic issues that they were
Yep.
having, all by the vibration. So the fact that you were talking about earlier about they are electrons and we're just electrical field or moving currents within us naturally, and then how he brought that up, like, oh, if you use this device it helps tone in those electrical nodes in, and how you just kind of reaffirmed it, and it just made me realize like we truly are amazing human beings, like in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like it makes no sense how we are operating. Like we are like bees, you know what I mean? It shouldn't work. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be able to fly with their big bodies. Like we shouldn't be able to
Yeah.
function the way that our system is working, but we are, and it's amazing. Like the fact that you saw a downfall situation that could have literally turned yourself into a homeless person. You know what I mean? You could have down spiraled into
True.
substances. You could have down
Yeah.
spiraled down a hill that would have never got you up, but you took a different perspective. You shifted your mind, you shifted the opportunity, and thank God that you had the people around you that provided you this oomph. Like, come on now, Kristine, go over here. You know what you want to do. Just do
Yeah.
it. And then you did it. And I wish more people can step into that zone of excellence. Oh my goodness, I love it when people talk about their zone of excellence because I think of Soul, the movie, the Disney movie,
Hmm.
where the guy's playing the piano and he gets in his zone of excellence and he goes off and it's like a whole different feeling, and it's beautiful because it's just genuine and it just comes from you and it's authentic, it's real.
Yeah.
There's gratitude in there, there's pain in there, there's beauty in there, there's everything, that's all that you are in there. And it's like I wish people can find that zone of excellence and not push it away like I don't got the time for that. Like, no, if you put that time, just even 5 minutes into your zone of excellence, you don't even know what can come out of you. You don't know what you can write. You don't know what you can paint. You don't know who you can help. You don't know anything until you step into that unknown of that genius. And I think that's the beauty of this conversation that we're having so that people can realize that soul intelligence is more than what
Mm-hmm.
people can make it seem. You know what I mean? It's not, it's more than just your emotions. It's more than just your physical being. It's everything. It's all that we are, you know? So it really does put it all together, and time is catching up to us,
Oh,
and
I
it's
know.
sad.
It
I
went so
know
fast.
it does, it really does go by fast, but what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Well, what I would say is, probably what I'm most famous for saying is self-care is not selfish, it's sacred.
Mm.
And if people want to learn a little bit more about me, my story, how I developed, the soul intelligence method, I've got a book called Healing Through Soul Intelligence. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I did it in Audible. It's on Kindle. It's pretty much everywhere. It's an LA Tribune bestseller, and Best Holistic Life recognized it as 2025 Book of the Year, which was super cool. And I'm actually currently working on my next book, which is going to be a daily dose of soul intelligence that should be available by the time this airs.
How exciting is that? What a blessing it is to be able to put your words, your genius into a book and share it with the rest of the world. So if somebody's in a coffee shop walking in Barnes and Noble and they decide to look at your book and then grab it, read it, think about it, and then allow it to change their life. Oh my goodness. And that's the beauty of it. It's like you
Yeah.
can produce a book and change people's lives without even having that knowing. You know what I mean? It's selfless. You know what I mean? It's true selflessness when you put your soul into a book, when you write out of your heart and write what you know that will help at least one single soul out there. So yes, I think that's beautiful. And if, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to know more about Kristine, because how could you not in this conversation, how could you not go check her out? I have her lovely photo on my website. You click on it, go straight to her website. Or if you're in audio or on YouTube watching this or listening to this, you can find in the description access to her website that has so much great content, access to her book so that you can continue on thinking. Because isn't that
Thank
the
you.
point? Yes, it is. Continue on thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.